Let's begin this conversation with an immediate, undeniable truth that you already feel deep in your spirit. There are certain individuals in your life who approach you not with the intention of enriching your journey, but rather to deplete the precious resources you possess. They arrive wearing deceptive smiles and practicing counterfeit kindness, concealing a sinister, unstated agenda, to covertly siphon off your brilliant, divine light. Understand this clearly: you are not a random entity in this world. You have been meticulously selected, distinctively marked, and sent forth by a higher power with a specific, potent mission and an immense reserve of spiritual power. This knowledge demands a critical and guarded approach to how you allocate your sacred energy and time, recognizing that not every soul clamoring for your attention is truly worthy of receiving the warmth of your unique flame. But I must be perfectly clear about the inherent danger you face. Not every hand reaching out to you is meant to be grasped and pulled to safety. There are specific people, shadow figures, if you will, whom your innermost spiritual radar, placed by God Himself, has been constantly warning you about. These are the individuals you absolutely must refrain from investing in. For every measure of energy you pour into their bottomless vessel results in the catastrophic loss of a piece of the divine grace that was gifted to you. They do much more than simply slow your righteous pace. They actively and intentionally barricade the very road to your spiritual destiny. My purpose today is to help you clearly identify and understand exactly who these energy vampires are, because failing to see their true nature will result in them perpetually draining your life force, your mental clarity, and the conviction of your sacred calling, leaving you eventually with nothing but profound confusion and spiritual desolation. That kind of emptiness is absolutely not the inheritance promised to you. This profound message is not intended for the broad, distracted world, but is specifically and lovingly directed to the rare few, the uniquely chosen, the spiritually alert. If this deep truth resonates like a thunderclap within your soul, I urge you to remain focused and connected to these words until the very end, because the revelations you are about to receive possess the authentic power to fundamentally and permanently transform your predetermined destiny. Take a moment right now to acknowledge this stirring by connecting with this material, if your soul feels its weight. And please make sure you are subscribed to join this circle of light and purpose. If you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that God is currently sharpening your spiritual vision and opening your eyes to higher truths, leave a comment with the number 99 to confirm your awakening. Remember, 9 symbolizes divine completion, signaling that a critical phase of your spiritual preparation is concluding right now within you. Let the true revelation begin. Let's address the unspoken realities you have personally endured, experiences so intense and deeply personal that few in the world would ever truly believe them if you spoke them aloud. You have attempted to articulate these trials before, only to be met with bewildered stares, or, even worse, a casual dismissal of your legitimate agony, as if your suffering were merely a trick of your imagination. But you know the difference, don't you? You know the undeniable authenticity of that pain because you have felt it permeate the deepest parts of your soul, lodge itself in your physical body, and echo in the absolute silence of those long, solitary nights when you cried out to the heavens and received what felt like an agonizing silence. In return, this journey has not been gentle. It has been a relentless, brutal campaign. The stark reality is that, from the earliest moments of your conscious life, existence has not merely tested your resilience, it has aggressively attempted to utterly dismantle you. While those around you seemed to benefit from an invisible shield of protection, you were continually left exposed to the elements. While others spent their time in effortless enjoyment, you were forced to endure one trial after another. And while they found comfort in moments of rest, you were relentlessly grappling with invisible spiritual adversaries and shadows that no one else had the sensitivity to perceive. Yet, look at you now. You are still standing, still drawing breath, and for a powerful divine reason, you have emerged infinitely stronger, more refined, and more battle-hardened than you ever thought possible. But the question must be posed with stark honesty: why you? Why did the most severe and intense spiritual warfare target you so prematurely? Why did the opposition launch its full-scale assault on you before you even fully understood how to spiritually defend yourself? Why were you forcefully submerged into soul-shaking storms and crises that you absolutely did not create? It is imperative that you understand this with absolute clarity. This was never a punishment or an arbitrary act of fate. This relentless pressure was, in fact, God meticulously positioning you for a destiny far beyond the ordinary. The moments others saw as affliction were, in truth, an accelerated process of shaping your very character. While your peers were granted a prolonged season of innocence and being sheltered, you were deliberately forged, not to become a commonplace individual, but to assume the mantle of leadership when the commonplace inevitably buckles under pressure. Leaders destined for these tumultuous final times cannot afford to be spiritually soft, nor can they remain naive to the realities of the spiritual battlefield. They must be fired, tested, undeniably battle-proven, and possess a spiritually unshakable core. You have been in a season of quiet, intense formation, undergoing a secret advanced training regimen. The reason is simple. When the world begins its chaotic descent, you are destined to be the immovable anchor, standing firm in the swirling disorder. You will be the singular voice speaking light into the encroaching darkness, declaring unyielding faith where terror and fear have taken root, and guiding the spiritually broken who no longer possess the clarity to discern whom they can truly trust. Every single scar you carry, every unshed tear you have concealed from the world, every agonizing, sleepless night that brought you to the brink, none of these were the result of random misfortune. They were, in the highest sense, divine, strategic preparation for the role you are about to step into. You were definitively chosen to lead, but before the divine could formally hand you the mantle of authority, he needed absolute assurance that you would never succumb to the temptation to drop it or abandon your post. Now, the complex tapestry of your life starts to reveal its pattern, and you can clearly understand you were never cursed by misfortune. You were powerfully called to a higher purpose. And here is the hidden reality that few will ever speak to you about. The more immense and significant your divine calling, the earlier and more fiercely your foundational battles will commence. This is because the forces of spiritual opposition recognized your immense potential long before you had the self-awareness to grasp it. Yet, even their most concerted efforts were ultimately insufficient to stop the inevitable rise of your spirit. And now, your process of awakening is happening. Slowly, deliberately, and sign by undeniable sign, you are beginning to piece together the memory of the person you were always meant to become, the original blueprint of your soul. But what you have realized so far is only the initial layer of this greater truth. What follows next is a revelation designed to shake something even more profound and deeply rooted within your consciousness. Stay locked into this revelation, because the coming truth will fully illuminate the precise and non-negotiable reasons why certain people have been continually, almost supernaturally, made to vanish from the landscape of your life. There is an undeniable difference in the way you deliberately navigate your path through this world. You simply cannot and do not operate on the same wavelength as the majority of people you encounter. This is because, at the very core of your being, you carry a quiet but profound weight, a persistent spiritual gravity, a distinct and divine burden placed upon you. Even in moments when you are unseen, even when your selfless efforts are completely unacknowledged, you persistently show up for others. You are consistently the foundational pillar, the one who silently holds the fragmented pieces of others together, even while your own life might feel as though it is coming apart at the seams. You possess an almost hyper-spiritual sense of responsibility for circumstances and issues that are clearly not your own to bear. You agonize over the suffering and pain of others. You are the one who inherently takes on the spiritual atmosphere of every space you enter, and you frequently find yourself praying with intense fervor for individuals who would never consider doing the same life-saving act for you. But you must ask yourself, why this urgent, invisible sense of spiritual duty to constantly protect, elevate, and spiritually cover people even complete strangers. The reason is simple and absolute. Your leadership was not something you consciously chose on a whim. It was, in fact, spiritually woven into the very fabric of your being before your physical birth took place. While most people are relentlessly chasing fleeting and temporal pleasures, your soul is fixed on the pursuit of eternal purpose. While others retreat and run from demanding responsibility, you instinctively surge toward it. You understand that this is a reality you cannot effectively explain to them. They will never truly grasp it because the weight and nature of what you carry do not originate from this ordinary, visible world. It is a divine, complex assignment, a sacred code meticulously written directly into the depths of your soul. Every single time you have attempted to dismiss this calling, every time you have tried to effortlessly blend in or live a superficially normal life, that internal summons returns, louder, more insistent, and heavier than before. You were never created with the intention of living a life of spiritual lightness. You were never summoned to be a passive spectator on the sidelines of destiny. Your sacred mandate is to courageously go first, to lead by example, to stand resolutely in the gap for others, to be the unwavering voice of spiritual calm amidst the chaos, and to stand as a pure mirror of the heavens when the world inevitably forgets what ultimate truth and clarity look like. And here lies the profound spiritual mystery. You will receive no public applause for this work. No one will ever truly perceive the silent, ferocious battles you are fighting within. But this is by divine, strategic design, because God is currently raising up an army of quiet, humble warriors, hidden now, but whose time for public revelation is rapidly approaching. You are currently positioned within your essential preparation season. In this vital time, the divine is observing precisely how you lead when no eyes are watching, how you serve with genuine humility when no appreciation is offered, and how you obey an inner instruction when it seems to defy all conventional logic. The inevitable reason for this rigorous testing is this: when the appointed time arrives, when the spiritual veil is finally lifted, you will no longer be leading in secrecy. God is about to bring his hidden ones into the full, undeniable light of the world. And when this happens, the world will stand in utter confusion, unable to comprehend your sudden emergence, because they were never privy to the immense spiritual weight you carried in silence. But rest assured, heaven witnessed every single moment, and your magnificent future reward will precisely and justly match the spiritual endurance you have demonstrated while carrying this burden in silence. Do you still truly believe that the immense responsibility you feel was random chance? Do you still think that your empathetic heart is merely too sensitive? Or is it perhaps the overwhelming and undeniable evidence that you were purposefully born for something profoundly sacred and world-changing? But do not move on just yet, because the next critical sign is about to fully explain the painful reality of why people consistently misjudge your intentions and character, even the individuals who are closest and dearest to your heart. Let us have a transparent discussion about a deep reality you rarely allow yourself to admit out loud, a persistent feeling that you have learned to bear in absolute silence, and one that often stings with more agony than an outright act of betrayal. The chronic feeling of being profoundly misunderstood. I am not speaking of strangers' opinions, but the judgment coming from the very people you expected, above all others, to provide unwavering clarity and support. You speak from the deepest place of your soul, your authentic truth, yet they listen with shallow, purely human ears. You move with an unmistakable sense of divine purpose, yet they hastily label it as odd or strange behavior. You courageously say an absolute yes to the quiet guidance God whispers to your spirit, and they dismissively call you dramatic. You have exhausted yourself attempting to articulate your complex inner world. You have even tried to deliberately simplify the immense spiritual depth of your character just to gain their fleeting acceptance. But regardless of your efforts, they simply cannot see the real you, not completely, not truly. Friends unexpectedly abandon your side without any warning. Family members continuously question your fundamental life direction. Even those who once enthusiastically celebrated your early victories suddenly fall into a chilling silence the moment your light begins to grow undeniably brighter and more formidable. But here is the critical pivot in your understanding. What if this persistent experience is not, in fact, rejection, but rather absolute, divine confirmation of your calling? You must accept the reality that the chosen ones, the individuals marked for greatness, are almost never immediately recognized or celebrated by the general public. This is because your spirit inherently broadcasts a unique, high-frequency energy that the vast majority of people are simply not spiritually attuned to receive. They struggle to comprehend why your pursuits diverge so radically from their own superficial desires. They cannot fathom your deep, seated need for solitude, your fierce commitment to protecting your energetic space, or why your dreams possess a scope and scale that are fundamentally different from theirs. And because they lack the spiritual vocabulary to accurately define who you are, they resort to the only mechanism they know. They reject you. But you must remember this powerful lineage. Jesus Christ was fundamentally misunderstood. David was initially ignored by his own father and brothers. Joseph was brutally betrayed by his closest family members. And yet, each of these individuals was intentionally set apart for a specific moment in history that absolutely no one else could see coming. The identical principle holds true for you right now. The rejection you have experienced was not a form of heavenly punishment. It was, with absolute certainty, a form of spiritual protection. God has been vigilantly guarding your destiny from the toxic, limiting opinions of others, opinions that would have inevitably diluted the pure power of your ultimate calling. If they had easily accepted you and your unique path, you might have been tempted to remain small, safe, and comfortable in their presence. But true spiritual leaders cannot afford the luxurious distraction of comfort. They are in constant, essential need of clear, unwavering clarity, and sometimes this deep, transformative clarity arrives wrapped in the painful, yet necessary, cloak of spiritual isolation. So yes, they walked away. Yes, they openly doubted your convictions. Yes, they completely misunderstood your motivations. But this separation occurred precisely because they lacked the spiritual sight to recognize the undeniable person that heaven had already confirmed you are becoming. During this powerful, refining process, the individuals whose energetic frequency does not align with your next, higher spiritual level will systematically begin to fall away and out of your life. Do not expend your energy chasing after them. Do not waste your breath attempting to offer a complex explanation of your deepest self. Most importantly, do not shrink or diminish your true magnitude merely to fit the small, comfortable version of you that they are familiar with. Because when the decisive time arrives, when God spectacularly unveils the masterpiece He has been diligently constructing inside you, the very same people who turned their backs on you will be compelled to watch your ascent in profound, silent awe. But here is the profound spiritual truth that most people tragically fail to grasp. This current phase of being utterly misunderstood is not the final destination. It is, in fact, the essential threshold, the final preparatory step. The monumental event that is rapidly approaching is not solely about separation from the wrong people. It is fundamentally about your complete spiritual activation. Prepare your heart and mind, because the next sign is poised to uncover a profound, hidden truth that may have been eluding even your keenest spiritual awareness. There are distinct, recurring moments in your life when a deep part of your being knows the truth of a situation before any tangible evidence manifests. It often begins as a faint spiritual whisper, an unusual pressure or feeling in your very chest, a vivid, strange image that flashes in your dreams, or a quiet, internal warning that no one else around you can perceive, but which you find absolutely impossible to disregard. You have consistently sensed impending danger well before it arrived on the scene. You have vividly dreamed of certain places or people, only to then encounter them in your waking life days later. You have suddenly awakened with an overwhelming spiritual heaviness, without a clear explanation, only to realize much later that a significant, unseen spiritual event had occurred. And perhaps for a prolonged period, you mistakenly rationalized these experiences away, dismissing them as products of an overactive imagination. You questioned your own sanity. You diligently kept these powerful prophetic moments hidden from public view because you feared the predictable labels, being called crazy, overly sensitive, or fanatically spiritual. But the time for silence is officially over. It is now imperative that you boldly speak this truth out loud and embrace it fully. You are not in any way, shape, or form imagining these phenomena. You are, in fact, expertly discerning them. The profound spiritual gift that you carry is not a common characteristic. It is not baseless superstition, nor is it random coincidence. It is an authentic, unmistakable prophetic anointing that resides within you. God has strategically placed within your spirit a finely tuned spiritual antenna, a receiver that effortlessly detects and processes complex signals that the average soul is simply unable to perceive. While the masses walk through life in a state of spiritual blindness, you move with a distinct inner sight. While they are forced to guess and speculate, you can feel the truth with certainty. While they mindlessly follow the trajectory of the crowd, you hear the deliberate, guiding whisper from behind the spiritual veil. This powerful gift is not something to shrink from in fear. It is a sacred trust that must be diligently stewarded and honored. This is because the chosen individuals God selects to lead in these crucial, final days cannot afford the luxury of being spiritually surprised by events. They must possess the ability to see ahead, to meticulously prepare ahead, and to speak the prophetic word ahead of time. This is precisely why He grants you these forewarnings. He reveals warnings within your dreams and quiet moments, not with the intention of terrifying you, but specifically to give you the time to prepare yourself and others. He instills deep, intuitive feelings about specific people, not to encourage judgmental attitudes, but purely to protect the sanctity and execution of your purpose. You have walked decisively away from opportunities that appeared outwardly attractive and successful simply because a primal, spiritual alarm bell screamed no inside you. And inevitably, the truth would later be revealed, confirming your profound initial spiritual assessment. This is not a sign of arrogant pride. This is not the manifestation of paranoia. This is a clear demonstration of authentic prophetic sensitivity in action. The world is in desperate need of more voices like yours right now. Not merely loud, booming voices that clamor for attention, but clear, authoritative ones. Not simply common opinions and speculation, but precise, undeniable divine insight. This gift is profoundly costly precisely because it often necessitates a degree of spiritual isolation. People will openly mock and dismiss what they lack the capacity to understand. They will roll their eyes dismissively at your heartfelt warnings until the moment the spiritual storm hits their door. But by then, because of your prophetic clarity, you will have already been building the ark of safety. Your mission is not here to be universally impressive or popular. Your ultimate purpose is to prepare, to guide, to lead, and to spiritually protect those who currently cannot see the dangers because their spiritual eyes have not yet been fully opened. And yes, this path is often a lonely one. Yes, the burden of this foresight is heavy and demanding. But you must never forget this truth. God does not disclose His deepest mysteries and plans to the common, distracted crowd. He intimately whispers them to His uniquely chosen and prepared vessels. And you have been hearing that distinct, life-faltering whisper for many years now. The time has come to listen with more focused attention and spiritual reverence than ever before, because the final monumental sign, the one you are about to receive, will serve to confirm not just the identity of who you are at your core, but the immense spiritual authority you were born to command and wield in the world. Get ready now. The final, synthesizing revelation is here. You have tried relentlessly to ignore it. You have attempted with all your might to silence its persistent call. You have struggled to blend in and live the prescribed life that everyone else defines as normal. Work, financial obligations, casual weekend plans. plaster on a superficial smile, survive the week, and then repeat the cycle. But deep within the core of your being, there is an unyielding, burning restlessness, a spiritual urgency that simply refuses to go to sleep. No matter how many superficial distractions you try to pile upon it, that powerful gravitational pull relentlessly returns, each time louder, more potent, and possessing a greater sense of extreme urgency. You have at some point walked away from the clear path of your purpose before, haven't you? Perhaps not primarily out of cowardice or fear, but out of absolute spiritual exhaustion, out of profound heartbreak, or simply out of pure, debilitating confusion. You probably told your soul, I just desperately need peace. I just want the world to leave me alone. I am simply not ready to handle this divine weight. And for a temporary, fleeting period, the strategy seemed to work. You successfully faded into the background noise. You diligently followed the script written by others. You attempted to convince yourself to be ordinary, but the truth is, ordinary was a role that was never, ever written into your eternal blueprint. You were never intentionally designed to remain on the sidelines, watching from the cheap seats. You were definitively marked long before your physical birth to rise